Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Reckless speculation.
Reckless speculation.
It is a Reckless Speculation Thursday across the Score North network. We dove into some Timberwolves speculation with Doogie on Minnesota Sports with Mackie and Judd. Yesterday we did some speculation after Write That Down, but then Mike Florio came out with another Trey Lance report, I guess. Kind of a bombshell if you're looking at it from a Vikings perspective. So we're going to get into the latest on Trey Lance and Vikings ties and a random Viking of the week here today. Daily Vikings Entertainment here on Purple Daily, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. The show is presented by our friends over at TCL, now an official partner of the NFL and an official partner of us here at Purple Daily, one of the world's best-selling consumer electronics brands. They have a new lineup of award-winning TVs delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution, all at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. Learn more at TCL.com. 1 week from today, boys, it's the Surly Park Tavern Draft Extravaganza. The draft party. 6 o'clock start time, Thursday, April 27th for the first round of the draft. The draft starts at 7. That's when the Purple Daily live stream on YouTube will start. And we'd love to meet as many of you as possible. Cheers some Surlies. It's a Park Tavern in St. Louis Park. You can go to scorenorth.com, and there's more details, and there's even like a parking map for if the main lot fills up. There's other places you can park sort of adjacent. So check it out. We are super, super pumped for that event in 1 week from today.
Before I die, one night it comes back. And a new can as well debuts. So yes, it's going to be great fun. I thought that the draft party we had a year ago was a ton of fun. We were outside, and so were you. It was a little bit chilly. Now inside, going to be far more comfortable. I think it's going to be a huge event. And you know what, you guys? I'm trying to think. When's the last Vikings draft that we were this close to when you had like zero feel?
They could literally trade up to third or trade out of the first round and anything in between. And none of it would really shock me.
Like,
right.
I have never been so uncertain about the plan.
Well, I mean, even like the top of the draft, we're not really sure what the number 1 pick's going to be. We think it's going to be Bryce Young. And then number 2, God knows what the Texans are going to do. They could trade out. They could draft C.J. Stroud. They could draft Will Anderson.
Sounds like they are not going to take a quarterback. I saw a special last night in which McShay basically predicted complete chaos.
Well, we're going to actually so you guys are right. There was a McShay Kuiper back and forth 3-round mock, or I don't know if it was back and forth, but it's a 3-round mock where they're both making predictions.
Yep.
So we'll get to that as well on the show today. But let's start back here.
Love it.
We touched on some of this, but this was sort of independent. We touched on a couple of interesting threads that tied the Vikings and Trey Lance. And then this report came out after we were done recording yesterday from Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk. At this year's scouting combine, there were rumors of a potential Kirk Cousins trade from Minnesota to San Francisco. Those rumors may have come from the reality that the Niners and the Vikings had discussions about another quarterback. Per a league source, the Niners and the Vikings talked about Trey Lance. The source doesn't know whether that's currently still happening. The Vikings have since restructured Kirk Cousins' contract. They'd take a significant cap hit of $38 million this year if the Vikings do trade Cousins before June 1st. But the Vikings need an answer for 2024 and beyond. It's unclear whether they truly think Lance could be the answer. So we've kind of talked in and around this. I want to throw a different question at you guys to spark this conversation today. I've heard from probably 20 people in the last 24 hours through Twitter DMs, through YouTube comments, whatever. Some variation of, well, the 49ers are one of the smartest organizations in the league. Kyle Shanahan is this sort of offensive savant. Mm-hmm. If those things are true about the 49ers, shouldn't it be pretty telling that they're trying to pawn off Trey Lance and sell him off for like 30 cents on the dollar from what they, traded to get him in the draft a couple years ago?
Sure.
So how does that idea impact your perception of Trey Lance? The 49ers are out, so should buyer beware, I guess.
I think it all comes down to this. I don't think it comes down to the fact that Trey Lance is a bust. I think Trey Lance, unfortunately, remains an unknown completely, but I think it's just timing. I think it's the 49ers don't feel that they have the luxury of time to now find out. That that the plan was when they drafted Trey Lance and traded up to get the third overall pick in that draft a couple of years ago, that, we've got Garoppolo, we're going to develop the kid, and then the kid is going to become our starting quarterback in 2022. We're going to find out, and then we're going to be good to go. Yeah. Well, it all changed. Trey Lance got hurt, in week, I think, 3 against the Seahawks. He has played, going back to college because of COVID in part, he has played very little football. And the 49ers now have this ready-made team that looks to be potentially outstanding and is in, again, those very short windows where you're like, this is a Super Bowl roster. Like, those don't last for 5 years. And so I would not say that Trey Lance is a bust. I think he's an unknown, and I don't think the 49ers have the luxury of going with an unknown. So I don't think they're trying to pawn him off. And by the way, I don't think that you're going to get him for nothing. Like, pawn off to me means, oh, we screwed this up. Give me a 5th round pick. He's released.
But they're saying he's not our guy, right? They're saying he is not our franchise. We don't have a quarterback, and he's not it.
And I'm saying that I think that they are smart enough to know they don't have the luxury of time now to say if it doesn't work or if he needs, which he very well might need, more time, development time. He just needs to play football. Before we can say anything, he needs to play football.
Yeah, because he's barely played really since high school. That's the other big thing about him. He's this athletic freak, and he's got tools and everything. And a bunch of teams were looking at him in the top 3, top 5. But I think it's a little of both. I agree with you. It's more about timing than Trey. That everything else is ready to cook. They were hoping that the timing would have lined up by now, but because of his ankle injury and I think also because of maybe his slow development as a quarterback, he hasn't picked it up as quick as they wanted, and he's been hurt, and they don't have time to sort of tinker around again in 2023. So it's not fully, well, the timing is bad. I think there's a little timing is bad and a little, well, he just didn't. From all aspects, he just wasn't quite the guy that we thought we were trading up for. Doesn't mean he's completely cooked. He's a bust. I'm really curious to see him in a different environment, just a sort of a less urgent environment, which it may suck to hear this if you're a Vikings fan. And the mission on this show remains long-term, win a Super Bowl before we die. But sometimes you have to sort of take a little bit of a step or a half step back to take 2 steps forward. That's kind of what the Vikings 2023 season looks like. And I think Trey Lance, if the price is right, could sort of fit that mold to find out. Go play him for a year and find out, is he the guy that can take over?
And I'm probably more out on Trey Lance than I think you two probably are. And I know a lot of other Vikings fans probably are also in the same camp that I'm in. If the price is right, certainly, why not take a shot, right? Like if it's a 3rd or a 4th round pick or just a day 2 pick for Trey Lance, okay. Because to be honest, if you're going to draft a quarterback in that same spot, the bust rate's going to be about the exact same, if not worse, right? So I'm okay with that, but I wouldn't be jumping for joy and just like, oh, here it is. They got their next great quarterback. His lack of staying on the field and him not playing football game scares me. It scares me at this point. I don't think it's anything from a sure thing.
And I'm not saying, just to be clear here, I'm not saying that he is the guy for this team. I'm just saying I don't think San Francisco has determined that he absolutely is Ponder. I think that they are. Agreed. I think that they don't have the time. I think that they probably didn't understand, and this is a hard thing to predict. They probably didn't understand that the Trey Lance arc and the roster arc wouldn't sync up at all. And so I think that there's there's influencing factors here. But that being said, Dex, like, if the Vikings come to the conclusion of, you know what, no, that's absolutely fine. I'm talking about from a league perspective. I don't think San Francisco has this rotten tomato on their hands that they're just trying to pawn off. I think it's more in depth than that.
And this is all about, again, the value of a football stock. I have a lot of questions about Trey Lance, just like Declan does. I also don't think you can't say he's Christian Ponder yet, just like Judd said. So if the price was, hey, they want 2 future first round picks, they want your 23rd overall, and they want next year's first round pick, I'm not trading that for a giant question mark Trey Lance. But, if it's like Kirk Cousins goes over there and Trey Lance and like a 3rd round pick comes over here, okay, and you save some salary cap space, beyond 2024 by clearing out the Kirk Cousins contract, that's probably worth a flyer on the maybe there's like a 30 to 50% chance that Trey Lance becomes a viable above average starter at some point. It's all about value. But then you have to weigh, okay, if you're having conversations about Trey Lance, what's the cost to get Trey Lance, who's a question mark, versus the cost to get one of the top 4 or 5 or 6 quarterbacks in this year's draft who are also varying degrees of question marks, right? You can like CJ Stroud all you want. You're probably going to have to give up your first round picks this year, next year, and 2025 to get CJ Stroud.
Absolutely.
Are you 90% sure about CJ Stroud? Are you 40% sure? So it's all about value. It's all about what am I giving up for the gamble in this case.
And at this point in time, this conversation is extremely prudent because of this. Unless something changes drastically, the Vikings are giving every indication that they want to move on from their veteran QB. So, this is no longer reckless speculation of who's next after Kirk. It's very clear that the Vikings are paving the way to answer that question. And this is where they're going to have to take some form of risk. And you hope that Kevin O'Connell can be the X factor in knowing what he is looking at and the potential of coaching up the next guy, because Kirk Cousins is now aging. As of right now, his contract is up after 2023. And so everything is pointing to, in fact, I keep responding to tweets of you're trying to get rid of Cousins. No. If you have a problem now, it's with the Vikings. It's not with me. They're the ones.
Go attack Mike Florio for reporting that the Vikings are talking to the Niners, right?
Yeah, but as far as Trey Lance goes,
we called it though, by the way.
As far as we did because it makes some sense. But as far as Lance goes, or Stroud goes, or any quarterback potentially, what you have to hope is that the Vikings, and trust for right now, that the Vikings have a guy in the building that can correctly identify this. And that's where guys make millions of dollars, because it is damn tough. It can be very tough.
So here's another layer to this to consider, okay? We actually did this exercise on our old radio show. I think this was on 1500 ESPN, maybe 4 years ago, right before we launched Score North, or it was right around that time. And an emailer, listener Chris Mueller, sent an email through the Score North app, the feedback tab. And he kind of sparked me to do this homework again, but he did over half the homework. He said, had some time on my hands and put this together. Hope it helps y'all. Here's a list of first-round quarterbacks and where they were drafted going back to the year 2000. So Chris put together the first-rounders. I took Chris's list. Thank you for doing the legwork on this, Chris. And I filled it out. So from 2000 through 2021, we're going to leave the 2022 draft out of it because we just don't know yet. Kenny Pickett, we don't know. The first 5 quarterbacks drafted in each round, the first 5 quarterbacks drafted, period, regardless of round. There's some years where there's 4 quarterbacks in the first round. There's some where there's 1. But who were the first 5 quarterbacks drafted? How often is the first quarterback drafted a hit? How often is the second quarterback drafted a hit? If you get all the way down like the Vikings did to the 4th quarterback off the board and it's Christian Ponder, how often is the 4th quarterback a hit, the 5th quarterback a hit?
All right.
So I'll spare you the full list here because it's, I don't know, it's 90 quarterbacks or whatever it is, almost 100 quarterbacks since 2000.
Okay.
But based on my somewhat subjective classification of a hit being an above average quarterback for multiple years, the first quarterback taken 68% of the time since the year 2000 is a success. Now I'm counting everyone from Chad Pennington, who's on one end of that. He was a good, solid quarterback for a few years, and then his shoulder gave out, right? But he's a success. He's not a bust. Not a bust. Carson Palmer, not a Hall of Famer, but not a bust, right? Mm-hmm. Alex Smith, not a bust. So there's that. So there's sort of that low end of the bar. And then there's the guys like Eli Manning, who won Super Bowls, and Matt Ryan, who won an MVP, and Stafford and Andrew Luck, right? So that's the group. 68% of the first quarterback off the board since 2000 are a success. The second quarterback off the board, 36%. The third quarterback off the board, 27%. The fourth quarterback off the board, I counted only 1 out of 22 successes going back to the year 2000. And it's Derek Carr. I can give you that list here in a second. And then the fifth quarterback off the board jumps back up to 32%. So there's some small sample size here. But in general, if you're not taking the first quarterback off the board, so the Panthers are going to get it, whether it's Bryce Young or whether it's CJ Stroud, that guy's going to hit historically like 2/3 or 3/4 of the time. He's going to be a bust the other quarter of the time. Any other quarterback taken first, third, second, third, fourth, or fifth has like a 1 in 3 or worse chance of being an above average starter for multiple years. Now, there's obviously guys after this, like Russell Wilson was the sixth quarterback off the board. Tom Brady was down the list.
Right.
But the odds overall only get worse the further down the quarterback big board you get. That's something to consider. Trey Lance was pretty high up on that. Was he the first quarterback take, a second quarterback taken? I can't remember. A couple years ago. So as you're weighing this, do you want to? Oh, we're going to get Hendon Hooker. Well, he's the fifth quarterback off the board. Well, I don't know. Is that as valuable as just trading like Kirk Cousins for Trey Lance or something? These are things you have to consider.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the thing about this. And I think that we are, just to be clear here, rightfully so, scarred by Spielman's either failures or refusal to take chances. Because I feel like, Phil, the path you're going down to also at some point in time here causes you to just have to take some chances. Like if you're going to wait till the 3rd through 6th round, right? Like at some point in time, you just have to start to take them and see what you got, but you can't count on that. Like you can't say
those are all crap.
We're sure of that. Exactly right. But this is also why I think that the Vikings are, or at least there is a scuttlebutt that they are interested in trading up significantly because to your point again, the percentages improve. That's what makes this to me so intriguing. And then the added thing on top is this. We really don't know enough about these guys to know what the approach is going to be. I felt like, 5 years into Spielman, right? You sort of knew, he ain't going to take a chance on the quarterback here. He struggles to draft him. With Kwesi and Kevin, I feel like going into Thursday, it's just a complete unknown. And yet the most important position in sports is arguably what they are going to or possibly could address. So they don't have to do it with Kirk out the door, which gets scarier.
But what's not unknown is that you have to be aggressive or be in a spot to get a quarterback higher up. Just for fun here, I do want to give you guys, here's a list of the 4th quarterback taken in every draft going back to the year 2000. Because that's kind of the range the Vikings are in if they stand pat around 23, or if they aren't willing to move all the way up into the top 5 or top 6.
Yep.
If they're lucky, they're going to get the 4th quarterback off the board somewhere around 23, right? Okay, only 2 quarterbacks go in the top 10, and then maybe Richardson goes to Washington at 16 or something, and then Will Levis falls into the 20s, and you get the 4th quarterback off the board. Here's a list of the 4th quarterbacks taken in every draft going back to the year 2000. T. Martin, Marcus Tuiasosopo, Josh McCown, Rex Grossman, J.P. Losman. A lot of these guys are first rounders, by the way.
Great
J.P.
random.
was the first rounder.
Speaking of random
Packers
Viking
loved
of the
him.
week, this is random draft pick of the week. You can go down here.
Charlie Fry, Kellen Clemens, John Beck, Chad Henne, Pat White, Colt McCoy, Christian Ponder. There you go. Brandon Whedon, Matt Barkley, Derek Carr. We got a ding. He's at least an above average quarterback for multiple years, right?
And he was a 2nd round pick, right?
Yep, he was a 2nd round pick. Sean Mannion, Christian Hackenberg, Deshaun Kaiser, Josh Rosen, Drew Lock, Jordan Love, Justin Fields is a maybe. That's the 4th quarterback off the board in every draft since 2000. So again, even if you get a quarterback in the first round, but it's like Will Levis falls to 23, guess what? He's probably a bust.
This is why, though, to go back to a conversation that we had on this show earlier in the week, this is why you can't be afraid to whiff, too, though. Like, if you whiff, it can't paralyze you. That's the thing about if the notion is, oh, man, we drafted a quarterback fourth, and he is, oh, boy, we're in trouble here. You're going to be paralyzed by that fear. So, like, this is what makes this so interesting. Now, the question is, do I now trust you to take a second and potentially a third bite at the apple? That's the question. With Spielman, the answer got to be pretty much no. But the reality is, and I think that the smart teams have come to this conclusion, is when we're talking about quarterbacks, if you let one or two bad picks just basically end you, you're scared, you're never going to solve it. You're never going to come close. And by solve it, I just mean get a good starter. I'm not talking Burrow. I'm not talking stars. I'm talking just a solid starting QB, which, by the way, I would largely consider Cousins to be a very solid starting quarterback right now.
It is the idea of drafting and missing or finding a quarterback is dating. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. There are ones that are irrelevant, right? You tried and it's like, oh, well, that didn't work, and you don't lose sleep over it. But then you count them all up and you're like, oh, well, like I missed a lot. You're still fine. You're still going out there. You're still going to try. You're going to find your Burrow eventually. You might find your Cousins eventually. There's going to be misses.
You don't want to date your cousins, unless it's like your fourth cousin.
And Judd in disgust
fat fingers. Judd just closed his window.
Fat fingered. He did not like my dating analogy. He was like, I'm out of here. I can't do it.
Well, while Judd tries to figure out how to get back in the Purple Daily room here, a shout out to our friends over at Federated Mutual Insurance Company. Federated's been around for over 100 years, helping businesses maximize their level of success through risk management, tools, and resources. If you have fat fingers and click the X on the Purple Daily window.
I didn't hit a thing. I'm leaning back. That was very bizarre.
Judd's computer just going bonkers here. So Federated, you can find a full list of industries that they specialize in working with at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. And hey, once the draft is over, maybe you have some time. If you're one of these mock draft experts, maybe that's when you make some tee times for the first time since before college football season. If you are a mocker looking to make tee times, where should you go, Declan?
You should absolutely go to the Meadows at Mystic Lake. It's a scenic, award-winning 18-hole public golf course. Is okay. I went down there last fall. Speaking of dating, it was like a day before I was proposing. Okay. And I was actually battling a really nasty cold. I don't know if you guys remember that. So I was hyped up on cough medicine. Well, I might be taking cough medicine because I was drilling putts like this at the Meadows at Mystic
Cheater.
Lake. Okay. Yeah. There's no performance enhancing drugs, I think, in these. But
this looks like CGI here. This is clearly.
I don't know. You can go to golfthemeadows.com to book these tee times and also stay up to date. They're about to open, so go to golfthemeadows.com, stay up to date with tee times. Go to the Meadows Bar and Grill too. Plenty of great options. Some of the best golf you'll do. Go to golfthemeadows.com to stay updated.
Okay.
I want to
Okay. Okay, you guys kind of speculated that this was out there. Apparently, this did come out a couple days ago. A Kiper McShay combo 3-round mock draft.
It was a special show.
My goodness.
ESPN, I think it was at 6:00 a couple nights ago.
So let's go through this here. Yeah, this is the first time I have seen this. Ooh. So we've got Kiper McShay going back and forth here, and we'll just go through some of the highlighted selections. But the number one overall pick, they differ as of this week. Kiper's got Bryce Young going to the Panthers. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what they're doing? My bad. They are going back and forth. Okay, so I read this wrong. So Kiper has Bryce Young going to the Panthers, and then McShay has C.J. Stroud going to the Texans.
Okay,
so they're going back and forth here.
Okay.
Yep. And then Will Anderson Jr. to the Cardinals. Looks like they're not doing trades here. McShay has Anthony Richardson going to the Colts, then Jalen Carter Seahawks. Okay, let's keep it scrolling here. Bijan Robinson to the Eagles at 10. That dude could go anywhere from top 10 to bottom of the first round, depending on how teams feel about a running back. And then Will Levis goes to the Titans, the fourth quarterback off the board, 11th to the Titans. Okay. Desperate to get younger and cheaper at that position.
Ryan Tannehill's replacement.
Jackson Smith and Jigba, the first receiver off the board, to the Texans at 12. And we go down. Oh, there's Zay Flowers to the Steelers at 17. Kuiper loves Zay Flowers. He's got Zay very high on his big board. And we get to the Minnesota Vikings. Ooh, actually, Jordan Addison, third receiver off the board of the Chargers at 21. And Mel Kiper has the honors here with the 23rd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. Mel Kiper Jr. selects, on behalf of the Vikings, cornerback from Penn State, Joey Porter Jr.
I want a mock.
Oh, they've got him falling that far?
They do, yeah.
That's
Corner
the first
is
time
a
in a long time.
clear weakness for Minnesota, which brought in Byron Murphy Jr. in free agency to replace Patrick Peterson. Long-armed Porter could see early action outside. He didn't have much production in college, 1 interception, but that should change at the next level. They weren't testing him probably.
I wouldn't mind that. I don't think he's going to fall to 23, though.
I wouldn't mind it because I think he's going to be a really good NFL player. I would just be more annoyed that you spent 2 pretty valuable draft picks on cornerbacks last year.
Sure.
And then you found the need to go sign a 25-year-old cornerback with a chunkier free agency money and then use a first-round pick on another cornerback.
And they did just sign a guy from the Patriots a couple of days ago as well.
Former second-round pick.
Yeah, who was a high pick as well. So I'm telling you, I think if it plays out just like this, I think the Vikings trade back. I really do.
I don't know. I mean, if they love one of these long-armed athletic cornerbacks and it fits Flores' system perfectly.
But I think Kwesi's preference in playing the stock market would probably be to get more stocks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they definitely.
I'm not even saying I agree with that. I'm just saying I think it's what they do.
I don't think he cares about 7th-round stocks though, like Rick did. I think he wants 2nd, 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th-round stocks.
What's wrong with 7th-round stocks, man? You stop all of those undrafted free agents from hitting the market.
God. Okay, I'm just kind of scrolling down to the 3rd round here, where we're going to get to the Vikings at pick 87 as McShay and Kuiper, the Toddfather and Godfather of mocks, go back and forth, throwing haymakers at each other on ESPN.com. Bam, pow. And with the 87th overall pick, the ball is back in Kuiper's court here for the Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings select, out of the University of Auburn, defensive tackle Colby Wooden.
I want a mock.
All right, Wooden is an interesting 3-technique prospect. He had 6 sacks last season, 4 of which came when he was lined up as a tackle. NFL teams covet interior players who can contribute on 3rd downs.
Yep.
He's worth a dart throw here near the end of round 3. There you go.
Dart throw?
I want more than dart throws in the 3rd round.
I don't want to hear a 3rd-round dart throw. Like, I like the idea, and I would love for this team to improve its interior rush, but dart throw? Dart throws are for the 6th round. Dart throws are for late Saturday.
It's awfully disrespectful.
Yeah, I don't want
By the way,
to
if you're wondering where Hendon Hooker went, he went to the Seahawks at 37
Oh, interesting.
in the 2nd round there. Couple picks, 5 picks into the 2nd round.
Okay.
So that's what Godfather and Toddfather have cooking here in their mock draft.
I want a mock.
Do you guys, real quick, since we're on a roll here, before we get to Random Viking, we can just fly through this. I do have a Peter Schrager 1.0. Pete waits till the week before the draft, puts together all of his intel.
Schrager doesn't mock, he just waits.
He waits.
Yeah. Do you want it here? Do you want it? Okay.
Yeah,
So-
I was going to say no to a mock.
Schrags has Bryce Young going number 1, CJ Stroud going to the Colts number 2, who trade up with the Texans.
Plausible.
Will Anderson Jr. to the Cardinals at 3. Then he has Tyree Wilson going to the Texans at 4. Anthony Richardson to the Seahawks at 5. Fascinating.
Ooh.
Let's keep it scrolling here. Bijan Robinson, Eagles at 10. Whoa. Have you seen Schrags mock?
No.
With the 11th pick, the Tennessee Titans select Hendon Hooker.
Oh. Wow.
That's the highest we've seen Hendon Hooker, right?
I think so.
Wow. Okay. And then Will Levis goes to the Texans at 12. So they wind up getting a quarterback anyway. So that would be 5 quarterbacks in 12 picks.
Yep.
Yeah. 3 or 4 of those guys are going to be busts. That's the crazy thing. But it's a quarterback league, right? So, okay, so Vikings are clearly not drafting a quarterback now as we scroll down to 23. Instead, they select, according to Peter Schrager, from the University of Southern California, wide receiver Jordan Addison.
I want a mock.
Stretch
Like it.
field a little bit.
So here's the write-up. I know of at least one team that has Addison as its top-rated receiver. With Adam Thielen now in Carolina, this pairing makes sense. That said, Minnesota can go a variety of ways here. With Cousins in the last year of his contract, quarterback could be an option. Not with 5 guys coming off the board in the first 12 picks, though. But the Vikings might have to aggressively jump up the board in order to get their man at that position.
Yeah, you never know.
Shregs.
You never know, Shregs, about that jumping up the board, do you? Crazy? On the phone?
Shregs, man, just going crazy. I love how he waits. He doesn't feel the pressure and the need to put a 1.0 out
He's a
in
busy
December.
guy, though, right? Like, he's got the
He's got TV every day.
football morning
Yeah.
in America. Yeah, he's got a lot to do.
It's called Good Morning Football.
Whatever
Please put
it
some
is.
Good
respect on
morning,
the show.
football in America.
Football morning in America. Hey, good morning, football in America. Whatever it's called.
There is a
Shregs.
football morning in America, right? Isn't it?
I don't.
Oh, that's
I don't-
Peter. That's Peter King's thing on
Oh.
NBC Sports now.
Okay, I get them all confused. The fact is, you wake up and there's
Get your
football.
ass out of bed
There's
now.
football
Come
on the
read some
television
football.
right now. You're getting an analysis, even though you don't have a cup of coffee yet.
All right, it's time now for a random Viking of the week here.
Here we go.
A battle of wits that Judd usually wins. He has a 50-30 all-time lead in the random Viking of the week. Declan and I alternate taking on the sports dad / historian of Purple Daily here. Although Declan did correctly guess Roman Reigns last week to end Judd's 3-game winning streak.
Didn't give the right name though. I mean, I could have protested. I didn't.
That's a good point. I guess
Joe
technically Joe
Anoa?
Anoa is his name, right?
Anoia. Yes.
But to this point, Judd dominates. Declan's going to put out the clues here. He's going to throw out a series of clues. Judd and I get up to 3 incorrect guesses before we are eliminated. We can guess whenever we want to. We can just blurt out guesses. And we can ask Declan questions, but he can refuse to answer if he wants to. A few of the most recent random Vikings include Roman Reigns, JT O'Sullivan, Anthony Carter, Michael Floyd, Chris Hovan, Ed McDaniel, and Greg Camarillo.
Good list.
All right. No Googling, no cheating. Declan, go ahead.
All right. This random Viking of the week was born in Texas.
Can I guess?
Sure.
Oh, no, can I do a quick search to see if I have if this person's on the list?
Well, I mean, you can do that if you like. Yes. By the way, I have no sounders of dings or X's, so I will be acapelling those.
Oh, I got him.
Wow.
Well,
What do
okay,
you mean?
you just say no or yes, and I'll hit
Yeah.
the.
Okay.
That's what I want to hear.
I'll wait for one more clue, but I think I know who it is.
Okay.
Bing.
This random Viking of the week played in 83 regular season games.
Okay, so okay.
From age 24 through 31. So he didn't debut in the league till he was 24. And his last game came when he was 31 years of age.
24 though in college. Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Indeed.
Yeah.
This random Viking of the week was a first round draft pick.
Okay. It's not the guy I was thinking of.
I was hoping you'd use that guess up.
First round draft. Oh.
Huh. Yeah? Huh?
Huh.
No, it's not. That's not that guy either.
This random Viking of the week tried to start a clothing company. It didn't work. There's just a sentence that blank attempted to start a clothing company called blank. I can't also because his name is
name.
kind of attached to it, so I can't say it. But he tried. It didn't work.
Interesting.
This random Viking of the week also was drafted by a Major League Baseball team.
Well, that's an interesting curveball.
Yeah, that's, I almost had a guess, and then you threw that sweeper in, and now I don't know what's going on.
Wow, really? Okay.
Drafted by a Major League Baseball team. Okay, I've
See, I
got
feel like Declan gets all tricky too. Like it'll be
Oh, he
some guy
does.
that never actually played a game for the Vikings.
Well, you
I
used
although
one
I
last
did that
week.
last week.
Yeah, I was gonna say you ripped off his idea. Was he a first round pick by the Vikings?
No.
Okay. No, he wouldn't have played 83 games. I don't think.
I got a feeling this guy might not have played much for the Vikings.
I'm trying to think of that guy wasn't the first round pick.
In the Twitter archives, 10 plus years ago, could be 10 years ago, could be more than 10 years ago, but 10 plus years ago, Judd tweeted, when the Vikings cut this player, have to admit, that surprises me.
Was it Bobby Wade?
Wrong.
Okay, here I'll get. He does have baseball size, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, his baseball size.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's times where like a guy could be back then drafted in the 1000th round, and so you wouldn't even know it.
After
So Joe was surprised by this cut.
around the same time, Phil Mackey also tweeted after a preseason touchdown that definitely improves his chances of earning a roster spot.
When was this tweet?
It was 10 plus years ago. I'm not going to give you guys the year because you'll be able to deduct it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I know. No stones being cast. Not yet.
Improves this player's chances.
And it was surprising that he was. It's one of these slappies they signed for a couple.
He scored some preseason touchdowns. He did not make the roster, so this is another random Viking of the week that did not log.
I knew it right away. I knew it from the
You
beginning.
know what? You know what? I got no problem
From
with
the
that.
beginning. I
After
knew
the
this
crap
one
you
would
pulled last week, Mackie, I got no problem with this.
I chose one of the most famous people in the world right now. Declan chose someone that's probably selling insurance.
Yeah, it's almost like
No,
it's,
he's trying to start clothing lines.
yeah, it's like it's
He
a
tried to
random
start a
Viking.
clothing line, and
It's like it's a random Viking of the week or something.
I know.
It's wild.
Wait, so this guy scored a touchdown in a preseason game, and Phil tweeted that should help his chances. Oh God.
It was in the dome.
yeah.
Yeah, of course. That's the clue. Which end zone?
I don't know.
It was in the.
I will
dome.
say he wore the same number for every team, but when he played for the Vikings in the preseason, it was not the same number.
Just hold on. Just hold on.
Okay. I got more clues here.
Just there's a lot going on here. So this is the.
I feel like I know the position.
When I talk out loud, I give Judd too many clues, but
I feel like I know the position.
I don't know if I do know the position.
This random Viking of the week got multiple multi-year contracts with teams, but never stuck around a lot. Every time he got these big contracts by these two teams, he got cut pretty quickly.
Damn.
Okay.
You can take a guess?
Matt Castle.
Eh.
He played. Yeah, he played more recently.
And he wasn't a first round pick, was he?
No, he wasn't. That was a dumb guess. I panicked a little bit.
Bad Phil. Bad Phil. Okay.
The
we're one-
last touchdown
one
that
more.
this random Viking of the week caught was from Jamarcus Russell.
The last touchdown that this guy caught was from Jamarcus Russell.
He also cut touchdowns from Jake Plummer and a former Vikings quarterback. Dig deep, boys. Come on.
So Plummer was Denver, Arizona. Jamarcus Russell was only
Love Jake Plummer. Jake the Snake.
Oakland.
one-time Pro Bowler,
What the hell, dude? This is insane.
and a comeback player of the year on his resume too. Or excuse me, he got votes. He did not.
He did not win it.
He did not win it. He did not win it. Sometimes that little dash on the voting, I always mess up. He made a pretty strong case to win comeback player of the year.
What? People are just shouting at their TCL TVs right now.
Or they're like, this one, you son of a B, Declan, this one's a tough one.
Okay, so he's first round pick, played for the Raiders.
Played for either Arizona or Denver.
The most touchdowns in his career he ever recorded were against the Vikings. He had 31 NFL regular season touchdowns. The most came against the Vikings.
I'm going to kick myself when this comes out.
This is nuts. Yeah, this is insane.
Played in the NFC North, obviously, too.
Well, so the Packers don't draft receivers in the first round. Oh, the
We're out of
music
music.
ran out, dude. The
We're out of
music ran
music.
out. This is nuts.
No, he wasn't. Or wait.
Oh man.
It's a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah. We knew that.
Who is it? Is what we want to know.
Javon Walker.
Ding, 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 ding. Javon Walker.
What?
Javon.
I forgot
Walker.
he was in Oakland completely.
What year did he play for the Vikings?
2010. He
with-
came here in
with
August
Rice
of
Oh, they
Hurt.
brought
2010.
him in for camp. That's right.
He got a
This
couple
second year of
preseason
Favre.
touchdowns. You liked
With
what you
Rice-
saw. You
with
said
Rice
he
hurt.
should make the roster after a couple little preseason touchdowns.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I
with-
must have
With Rice
blacked out.
hurt. Yeah,
What?
I think Favre got pissed off
Yeah.
because he's like, "Where's Sydney?" And they're like, "Yeah, he is."
Did the Packers draft him in the first round?
Yep.
So was he
20th
the
overall.
last first round receiver that they took?
20th overall.
Wow.
I don't know that there were a ton of
completely blocked
fans-
out Javon Walker.
I don't know. I'd be curious the amount of listeners who were screaming that one out. That's a pretty.
I
obscure
almost guessed
one.
Robert Ferguson, so I was in the ballpark, but I knew he
Yeah.
wasn't a first round pick.
Right.
Judd,
not first round.
Judd got a retweet from Trey Wingo and Peter King when he said, "I think Javon Walker sticks. What a comeback story if Walker's on the field in the Superdome in 6 days, September 3rd, 2010."
God,
Yeah,
that was
and
That's
they
the
cut
lead
him.
Vikings beat writer getting some love from
Yep.
Wow.
big national
Yeah,
heads
Pete
right
Canna
there.
used to be tight.
Yeah.
Now he doesn't
and
get
then
back to me
And
anymore.
then you became a hot take artist. You put your credibility pen down, and now you're a
I
hot
was
take artist.
done. I was through. Okay, I gotta go.
Wow. All right. Well,
I
that
gotta
was
go.
Depressing. All right. Cool. There we go. Random Viking of the week here. Congrats to Judd for guessing Javon Walker. Amazing. And thanks for hanging out with your daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. We'll see you on a Feedback Friday tomorrow.